So I said I was going to speak a bit more about the desire to not exist as opposed to having a strong will to live or a strong will to self delete. Now, having a desire to not exist, it can be quite difficult to understand if someone hasn't experienced it. But someone in a previous comment said they think that's the most common one, maybe. To others, it can look like someone who just doesn't care, which can be taken quite personally, understandably, if you're in a relationship or there's a loved one. Uh, because if I use myself as an example, like my baseline is I just don't care. I don't care about the injustices of life. I'm not that passionate that I want to self delete. I don't really care about the things that the glory that people chase, etc. I just at some of my lowest points, just complete flattened affect. There's something called anhedonia, which is where you just don't get pleasure out of things that should be pleasurable. Um, and when you're in that kind of state, it can be very difficult to get out of, but there's just zero. If I don't get pleasure from things that are pleasurable, if I don't have the motivations that would push me to pursue, what is the point in living? But then I'm also not. I don't really care that much about dying either, so I just want to crawl in a hole and escape in fantasy, really. And fantasy often manifests as addiction or just becoming a recluse, which, again, as you probably guess, is not very healthy. Now, being in that state or having that kind of non non-living kind of way of being, it gives you certain results. If we think about it in terms of like having life scripts, you got winners, you got losers, and you got non-winners. A loser is someone who never gets what they want, and often they might just self-sabotage. And I suppose I could speak a bit more about that, but I'll leave it there. You got winners. In transactional analysis, it was first defined as someone who does what they say they're going to do. Then there was the addition of someone who says what they're going to do, and it makes the world a better place as a result, which I think ties in with what Robert Moore describes when he speaks about having that kingly energy. If you think about the archetype of a king, one of the uh, major attributes is generativity. It's life giving, it's creative, it allows things around it to flourish and it nourishes and grows. So if you have a winning script, that's gonna be the outcome of your choices. Now, if we go to a non winning script, this is someone who's not gonna necessarily lose. They kind of got that moral victory, but this is someone who is not gonna win big either. And we fight the way we live. So something that I've noticed in martial arts is if I allow myself to be myself, I I can fight very defensively. That's my strength. And I can get the win, but I'm probably going to get there very slowly. I'm not going to chase anything. I'm not going to take a big risk, make a big movement. I'm not going to chase it. I don't care about it that much, which is not good. And something I've learned in competition is not taking big risks is a big risk in and of itself because you can only buy so much time. Like buying time is like trying to save money. It just depreciates as time goes on. And so you never really get to where you could have been. Something that Conor McGregor said in one of his interviews is he spoke about, when he was in his heyday, he was speaking about setting little standards for yourself. If you say you're going to be up at a certain time, wake up at that time. If you say you're going to eat at a certain time, eat at that time. Do these things. Something that Bedros Keuilian says, and among other psychologists, is that self-esteem and confidence is your reputation with yourself. So when you're setting these little goals and doing them, you're training your brain to have faith in yourself. You know what you're capable of. You can trust in your own abilities, and you have security in yourself. And that can help you on the road to becoming a winner. And as you grow in that respect, having those experiences can improve your zest for life. It's kind of like building up momentum. It can improve having that drive, having that will to win, which is kind of, I think it's synonymous with the will to live. Um, but in trying to change your script, you're going to meet resistance that brings you back to your baseline. For me, it was doing my counseling training. Um, During the course, there was so many obstacles. Now, it was just, uh, yeah. Long story short, there was just so many things going on, and in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I knew this wasn't for me. I'm just gonna, I should just quit and friggin' go back to the 9 to 5, go back to how I was. It was, I was miserable, but it wasn't that bad. Now, that was when I realized, okay, this is the point where I need to fight the hardest, because my brain was like, you're struggling. Let's go back to the place that you recognize. So the moment you find yourself wanting to go back to familiarity, that's probably, if you think of it as the gatekeeper of changing who you are.